Welcome to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Starting with cloud study number 1, I decided to do some natural blue skies with white fluffy clouds. I added some acid blue mixed with some white to start my sky off. One thing I learned while doing this first cloud study was that an angle brush works better than a round brush for the sky part. I also did try to make little separations in the sky so that I could put some clouds, and then later decided that that just didn't work for me and went with a different method. After finishing up my sky, I went in and I started adding some pure white to the canvas. I wanted to get that fluffy cloud effect, so my goal was to add all of the highlights and all of the white to the top, and then the bottom of the cloud sort of have it fade in with the background. I then added more clouds, trying to get the same effect as I did for the first one. Seeing how this was my first time not using a reference photo, I really did like how the clouds were coming out so far. Using my size 7 round brush, I decided to add just mini clouds in the background. I started by adding titanium white and then applying some acid blue mixed with white on top so that they'd sort of fade out into the background and wouldn't take focus from the main clouds. And this is the finished piece. Starting off with our second cloud study, I did forget to film the beginning, but as you can see, I am using an angle brush to paint the sky. To paint the sky, I used some Prussian Blue mixed with titanium white, leaving mostly white at the bottom. However, I did go back after the clouds were done and add some Prussian Blue so the clouds would stand out more. I then used a little bit more Prussian Blue to make sort of an underlining border for where I wanted the clouds to be. I thought that this would give me sort of a base to work with, and later I would go ahead and add some white on top. While painting white in the clouds in little strokes, I noticed that I had accidentally picked up some light gray from my towel where I dry my brush, so I tried to blend that in with the Prussian Blue. While continuing to add the white, I noticed it was really hard to make the cloud sort of fluffy with the angle brush. So I was trying my best to just blend the colors in together and make the shadows on the bottom and the whites on the top. At this point, I was just trying to make the clouds a little bit more fluffy. However, I was making a lot of mistakes at this point, and I wasn't really getting the results I wanted. So my goal was just to blend the colors as much as I could, and then go in and fix them with some more Prussian Blue at the bottom. then proceeded to add some white to make some mini clouds around the top. I just wanted to make sort of the faded image of some clouds in the distance. Mixing some titanium white with some yellow, I then added some on the edges towards the top of the clouds, trying to give the impression like the sun was shining on those areas of the cloud. I then proceeded to blend the yellow in, enough so that it still showed, but not too much that it just disappeared. At this point, my clouds are starting to look really good. All I needed to do was just add a little bit more detail to the piece. So I added some more faded clouds in the background and some blue at the bottom so it didn't look like the clouds were flying in just white sky. And now painting 2 is finished. Starting Cloud Study 3, I use Prussian Blue mixed with titanium white to make the top of the sky, and then I added some medium yellow and lemon yellow to make the middle of the sky. My goal in this piece was to make a sort of sunset sky, and honestly, I ended up really loving it. After finishing the sky, I used some Prussian Blue to make the bottom of the clouds like I did in painting 2. My goal was to make the clouds look far away, and to do this I made them a little bit flat and faded out. I then started adding the white to the top of the clouds and blending it in with the Prussian Blue on the bottom. Using a size 4 round brush, I blended out the colors using some water. I also used this brush for the rest of this painting to add more detail and to add more colors. At this point, I was just adding detail to the background, fading out clouds using some light blue and some medium yellow mixed with white. I then started adding some medium yellow to the bottom of the clouds so that the clouds would blend in more with the sunset sky and they would have more of that sunset vibe. After adding medium yellow to the bottom of the clouds, I started adding more and more detail to the piece, like some titanium white mixed with medium yellow for the top to make the highlights stand out more, and then blending them with water. I also added some more faded out white or pale blue clouds in the background just to give the sky a little bit more detail. And painting 3 is done, and this is by far my favorite. For my 4th painting, I wanted it to be a night sky with clouds, so I added some Prussian Blue. I started out by making it darker, but then realized that I would like it better if it had a little bit more acid blue and white to it to create a calmer night sky vibe. It's important to note that when you're mixing gouache colors, sometimes the light goes over the dark, making the dark colors a bit lighter than you intended. So I did have to go back and add a bit more darkness to the piece since my light colors took over most of the piece once I added them in. Now, while I am adding Prussian Blue for the base of the clouds, I recommend to go ahead and add the white stars before you start your clouds, because if not, you will have to go back later and go over your clouds again. After that, I started making the bottom of the clouds darker and trying to add little shadows in between the little cloud humps. My goal was to make the clouds fluffy and have really bright tops, like if the moonlight was hitting them. So I did go in with a jade green mixed with titanium white to add some highlights at the top. It was a little bit of a struggle because the light colors kept mixing with the shadows and I was having a hard time making them as bright as I wanted them. Throughout this piece, I spent a lot of time adding the highlights again and again because I kept mixing them out a bit too much. I also played around with the cloud shapes until I was satisfied with them. I definitely recommend just playing around with the cloud shapes if you don't have a reference, or if you do have a reference, I recommend following your reference. I did add more detail to the background, like some faded out clouds, because for me that just gives a bit more dimension to the piece. Now I started adding the stars to the piece. However, like I said before, I did have to go in with some Prussian Blue and jade green mixed with titanium white over the clouds, just so that the stars didn't show up on the clouds. I also did have to go in with a 5.5 pointed round micro mini brush because the stars kept fading into the background and they didn't show as much as I wanted them to. I definitely recommend using more paint on your brush than water so that the stars show a lot more and they don't fade into the back as easily. And there you go, your night sky is done. Starting piece number 5, the natural sky with some faded out clouds. I had a lot of trouble with the lighting as I was filming this, and while I was filming the background, the lighting faded completely to where you couldn't see what I was doing. So after I was able to get a little bit of lighting, this is the process that I got of me painting the background. I used acid blue and titanium white to make that nice blue color that you see on the canvas. I wanted the bottom to be more white and the blue to be darker at the top. Using a size 4 round brush and titanium white, I went in to paint some fluffy clouds. This is a similar process to the first one, so I will be speeding it up just a little bit. My main goal for this was just to blend the white into the blue to create some nice fluffy clouds. I also wanted to, finally my lighting was fixed, I also wanted to add some highlight to the top. I wanted the clouds to look really fluffy and white on the top and a little bit darker towards the bottom of the clouds. I then started adding detail by scattering some titanium white and blending it into the canvas to make some faded out clouds. I then added some acid blue to the bottom of the clouds. I didn't do it in the first piece, and doing it in this piece I noticed that it makes the clouds pop out more and makes the sky look a little bit more detailed. And piece 5 is done. Comment down below which one is your favorite, and don't forget to like and subscribe.